All right. So, hello, everyone. Very happy to be here on this. What is this? Is this a podcast, a web episode with my friend Pamela Gupta? Pam, I would love for you to introduce yourself.
Yes. Hi, Debbie. Thank you for doing this. I'm so happy to be sharing our expertise as cybersecurity and privacy experts. And I know when we met, and we didn't meet too long ago, we kind of instantly bonded. And I think this will be very valuable for us and for our audience to kind of understand what our areas of expertise are and also how we got here.
Absolutely. So, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Debbie Reynolds. I'm the CEO, founder, and chief privacy officer of Debbie Reynolds Consulting. My main focus is data privacy and working with multinational corporations and helping them maneuver around different regulations. I always say I try to make privacy a business advantage because it is something that businesses all over have to grapple with. So I try to help people navigate those avenues, whether it be existing businesses, businesses looking to take on new markets if they want to pivot, or even a lot of emerging businesses and emerging tech that are looking at privacy regulations. I would love for you to introduce yourself. You have such a rich background, Pam.
Thank you. So I am a cybersecurity strategist, and my company, I started that about 12 years ago. I have a pedigree of creating risk-based programs for global multinational Fortune 500 companies before I started my company. And my focus has always been on how to take cybersecurity and create efficiencies in business, and also how to create a cybersecurity strategy. And by that, I mean not just creating a one size fits all approach, but really understanding what are the unique challenges and business context for a particular entity, for an organization, that gives them an exposure. So what is it that makes them exposed, and how to mitigate that risk by process, by technology, by policies, etc. So taking a holistic approach. And I would just like to mention that I basically cut my teeth on security risk management on ISO 27001, which is a very holistic view and a security management view of creating a security program.
Mhm. Excellent. Well, I love to, for us, it's funny. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation because we sort of talk amongst ourselves, and we thought that it would be a great time for us to have a conversation together about sort of how we ended up in this line of work. There aren't enough women in tech in general, and it's very interesting that both of us kind of specialize in different areas, even though they work together or they join together in some way. I would love for you to tell me how what's been your journey to your career in tech.
Yes, thank you. So I am a technologist as well as a cybersecurity professional, and I really started my journey in cybersecurity actually before even going into cybersecurity, really looking at programming and artificial intelligence. So I
Mm-hmm.
came to this country 25 odd years ago, and the reason I even came here was because I wanted to do a master's in artificial intelligence, and it was not being offered in India at the time. I created a product actually, which is pretty cool, for designing smart houses by creating an expert system that interfaces with AutoCAD and allowed architects to design a smart house based on the expert system logic that I built in. And from there on, I went into programming, mainstream programming such as C, C++, and then got into networks. So fast forward to where I am now, and I would say that let me talk about it from two angles. One is the challenges that you see when people are creating cybersecurity programs comes from the fact that cybersecurity is a very large and a complex domain. And as I started my journey, going back from after programming and getting into networking, I kind of went up the ladder, but and as a in the process of doing so, kind of covered all the different areas of cybersecurity, which is extremely rare and has given me a real good advantage in creating these holistic risk-based programs now. So just for ISO 27001 alone, there are 14 areas of the 14 domains. I've been fortunate enough to have worked and practiced in all pretty much all those domains except for law and legal.
Excellent. That's fascinating.
Like,
See,
like to know about your journey too, Debbie.
I actually I've learned something that I didn't know. I didn't know about your smart home stuff. That's awesome. That's really cool. So my my foray into tech was quite by happenstance, actually. So, out as a favor to a friend, when I got out of college, this friend worked in a multimedia section of a university library, and this was at a time when they were moving from card catalogs to computers. So I was helping them catalog their media collections for universities. I know it's hard to remember, like people now, kids nowadays have never seen a card catalog before. So just talking about talking about that and my foray into technology, this is before the internet too. So, my first major job at a corporation, we didn't even have email. So it was very interesting to see that happen. But around the time that the internet became like commercially available and viable, I was very interested in data movement, and I was helping actually corporations that were involved in legal matters, help them create these massive databases for legal matters. But because a lot of the corporations were multinational, they still had to comply with the data laws in different countries. So I got cut my teeth for many, many years, decades, in doing a lot of these data movements. But in 1997, I actually read a book called The Right to Privacy, and it was fascinating. It's something my mother actually had read. She gave me the book, and I just the notion really captured my attention. So over the years, I've just kept up with the laws and the regulation and the technology and just seeing it bloom and flow. And I didn't imagine that my knowledge in that space would become something that I would have a business surrounding. So around the time that things were brewing, or people were really paying attention to privacy, maybe a little bit before um, the GDPR came out, I was asked by someone at McDonald's Corporation actually to come speak to them about GDPR and data privacy. And at that point, they really didn't know a whole lot about it because people were thinking about it as, oh, this is like a European regulation. This is like not going to impact us in the US. So, as we know, that's not true. It has such a ripple effect around the world, and it's been interesting. So, for me, just like you, I'm a technologist. So, I very much follow the technology and just sort of see where things go. And I've been happy to know that most of my predictions, almost all of them, have been correct. I really look really deeply. I'm really interested in seeing how technology evolves and flows and what that means in terms of individuals' rights, and also the types of things that businesses need to look out for, and things that help businesses thrive. So I don't want them to look at privacy as a burden. It should be something that really helps them thrive in whatever markets that they want to go into.
Yeah, and I think that's a commonality for the two of us, right? We are extremely passionate about what we do. We are in an area that we enjoy very much, as well as we look at it as a way of enabling a company or organization, whether it's a company or a different kind of organization, how to really use this as to their advantage, right? So, for example, to take more risks, to understand, take calculated risk, because business and entrepreneurship and successful businesses are all about taking risks. So, how do we help them do that to their advantage?
Absolutely. And I think, for me, just being a woman in tech, I never saw that as being a barrier in any way. And I don't know how you feel about this, Pam, but I feel like there really was no path. So a lot of the things that we were doing and we were getting into, we were just stepping into it because it's something we're following our passion, our interests, and that's something that businesses were able to take advantage of, as our clients. So to me, it was just it was and it still remains to be very interesting, and I'm really excited about a lot of the new emerging technologies, especially like in identity management and stuff like you're saying, like smart homes and virtual reality, augmented reality. All those things are fascinating to me as they're emerging and seeing how they play into not only the rights of the individual, but what businesses need to do next if they want to adopt these types of technologies and how they need to deal with that going forward.
That's a very interesting point, and I feel extremely strongly about that. So, and by what I mean by that is the fact that I would say companies and organizations were really just trying to grapple and really not hadn't really quite figured out the formula for successful security programs, right? They're still, because it is a complex area, there are so many different facets. There, we don't have perfect security, and we never will, just because of the nature of the beast. However, to make things kind of iffier, right? I compared this to standing on on a small, very small island and surrounded by water. Basically, companies were just getting a strong footing on that piece of sand, and now comes emerging risk and emerging technologies such as Internet of Things, such as machine learning systems. And I'd like to talk a little bit about how to build those systems securely. When it comes to machine learning systems, a lot of times we are talking about an artificial intelligence. We are talking about using AI for pattern recognition, for taking complex tasks and simplifying it. But we are not talking enough about how to build these systems securely. And I'm not just talking about the ethics component, which is a big part of it as well. So I had actually published this framework um, just for the fun of it, because I was noticing that we don't have enough guidance around building these systems securely. And I call it the SPIT model. Okay. SPIT standing for security, privacy, integrity, and transparency of building machine learning systems. And there isn't anything preventing them that those principles to be apply to other parts of AI, because AI itself has so many areas. But what bringing back to the risk from emerging technology and emerging risks, there are things that we can leverage from our existing knowledge of how to secure systems, how to make them have privacy, etc., built in by design. So we can absolutely do that, but we will require a different kind of acceptance of the fact that these systems are not secure, that we will have to leverage what we know, but we'll also have to be very agile in figuring out what are the new risks that are being introduced and address those. If we don't feel that we have something to worry about, then we are not going to be achieving that, obviously. So first, we have to realize that this is an issue, and second is how do we get there, right?
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. I've always been a fan of privacy by design or just anything by design. So, what I don't like to see is someone build some awesome system and they don't know how to secure it, or it's trampling on someone's privacy right. And it's like, oh my God, if we had just, maybe started or earlier or had like a parallel path to this where we're looking at that, it puts the company in a much better position, not only for themselves but also their clients, because their clients will be asking those same questions too. So for me, I try to make it. I don't want those considerations to be a barrier to adoption, whether it be someone making sale in a marketplace or being able to implement a certain technology within their organization.
Yeah, I agree. I agree because you know what? When we're talking about emerging risks, we really don't even have the luxury of that wait and see, right? We'll do this later. What has served us in the past, or what we happen to have done in the past will not serve us going forward, because our reaction time has been reduced so much that just even if you look at Internet of Things, we are still don't have standards. We are still talking about how are we going to secure this? How do we introduce that the economics of securing these systems so that it can become, manufacturers and other players in the IoT ecosystem, for example, are incentivized to do privacy and security by design, because these are obviously that comes at a price, right? Right? There's a price for resources, the skills that you need that may or may not exist, the money you have to put in, the project delays that can happen because you're building these principles in. So there has to be incentives for the IoT manufacturers, for example, to build these things by privacy and security by design. And meanwhile, we already are flooded with these programs and these systems out there for common usage. And we are looking at privacy and security being deterrents, that if consumers are not sure if these have those right components,
Mm-hmm.
then they're not buying them to the degree that they would feel more comfortable if they didn't have to worry about that.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Well, this is great. I love that we're having this conversation. So I think we'll end it here, and we'll talk in our next session about another titillating topic about cybersecurity and data privacy.
All right,
Thank
awesome. Thank
thank
you.
you. All right, cut.